Stephanie, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Busy, busy lady.
Oh, I try and stay busy. There's no rest or sleep for the weary, or wicked for that matter. I like to be weary and wicked.
I understand. I know you just came back from San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes.
You're on set the past couple of days.
Yes.
You're going to be going to another Comic-Con.
Yes, GeekGirlCon coming up this weekend. So busy, busy. San Diego Comic-Con was absolutely fantastic. It is exhausting, absolutely exhausting. We were there from Wednesday night until Sunday when it closed, and actually took Monday as a decompression day. And I was on 3 panels there, one for Felicia Day's YouTube channel, Geek and Sundry, and I spoke about independent producing in the web space there. And then the second panel I was on was for a show that I'm in and produce called Shelf Life, which you can find at shelflifeseries.com. And we've done 3 seasons of that. The finale is actually airing next week. And it's really cute. It's a live action comedy about raunchy action figures, toys on a shelf. And they freeze when the boy's in the room, and then they have their little shenanigans. And we're currently in a crowdsourcing campaign for that, looking to raise money for season 4, and it's going really well. There are 10 days left or so, see if you want to donate to that. It's a lot of fun. We have great perks. We actually made the action figures, so if you donate, you get one of those little guys, one of the 4 main characters, which is pretty cool. And then the final panel that I spoke on at San Diego Comic-Con was, I was just so honored to be on it. It was called the Most Dangerous Women at Comic-Con, and it took 12 women who were examples of geek women, geek girls, geek gals, whatever you want to call us. I'm personally fine with all of it, who were vanguards in the creative space. So if that meant costume design or web series, producing, directing, creating, actress from Babylon 5, for example, and authors of books and gamers, and we all got up on stage and had a really good time talking about what it meant to us to be labeled a dangerous woman, and how we're sort of breaking down gender barriers in the geek space and creating new opportunities for women through our creative projects. When I was growing up, being a geek girl was something that I had to hide, and so now to see it so embraced by the popular culture, and to feel like the projects that I'm contributing to it are helping the geek culture flourish is really, I was really honored. I was really honored. And now, now we have a con of our own. Next weekend I'm off to GeekGirlCon, so we have a whole con named after us.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah.
Did it seem like it evolved quickly? Or like you said, you had to hide it? Behind Little Ponies and everything, I'm sure, and then all of a sudden now you're doing it.
I was a girl, so I played with My Little Ponies, and I played with Hello Kitty and Little Twin Stars and Barbies. Well, Barbies later. They really had to pry my G.I. Joe and Star Wars action figures out of my hands. I'm an only daughter, only child, and my dad, he'll never admit it, but I think he secretly wanted a boy, so he gave me a lot of boy things. When I played with all the Star Wars action figures, loved the movies growing up. That was something that my dad and I shared. He was the one who got me into Star Trek. He was the one who took me to Star Trek conventions as a teenager, and I just knew full well there was no way I was allowed to tell the girls at my school where I was for the weekend. I would be in big trouble, but with my dad it was cool, and I owe him a lot because, at like 6 years old, I came home with The Hobbit, and I was like, "Oh, this looks cool, Dad." And he was like, "That's a baby book. Here's the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Read it, then we'll talk." And so at a very young age, I was reading Asimov and Lil Asney and Gibson and stuff that a 6 to 8 year old shouldn't be reading. But I did, thanks, Dad, for the nightmares.
So he really encouraged you on this path that you're on now.
And I think it's really important for parents to encourage their children, not just in in anything that they like, whether that's like cars or sports or all things geek, to really provide a home life where that can flourish. And I think that's where you get really talented kids growing up in a really good space. And so I was lucky to have my dad to share this with. And then as I got older, I managed to find other geek friends. And then, for me, social media was really the thing. For example, the ElfQuest project that my producing partner and I, Paula Rhodes, made last year that caused a big sort of explosion on the net. We got an article in the New York Times, CBS interviewed us, we were on Attack the Show. That came about because I was up in Vancouver and I was flipping through my old ElfQuest comics that I read when I was an 8-year-old girl and a teenager, and I posted one of the panels on Twitter and I said, ElfQuest anyone? And my Twitter feed just blew up with all these people being like, I love that, I love that. And I had no access to any of those girls that I already knew, like as an adult, but as a kid, that forum wasn't there. And so Paula and I realized that we had the directing and producing capabilities already being in the space to actually go and make it. So we raised money through Indiegogo, and we went and we made sort of a celebration of our love for the film, and the creators, Wendy and Richard Pinney, were so thrilled, and it's screened since at a bunch of film festivals. We had a panel last year at Comic-Con, and you can see this at elfquestfantrailer.com if you want to check it out. We took 12 scantily clad women out into the woods and put ears on them, so no wonder it was a hit. But we wanted to do a lovely homage to something that really inspired us to be heroines as little girls.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned awards. I know you've won a lot of awards at festivals and on the web. How does that feel that your work is being appreciated by so many people and being recognized?
It's awesome. It's really awesome. You know, once upon a time, my cheering team was Mom and Dad, and that it was great to have them on board. But just recently, ElfQuest won the Silver Prestige Award at that film festival. And this year I was nominated for Best Supporting Actress by Indie Intertube, and ElfQuest won Best Trailer there. So we've been honored across the board, and in the past I've won an acting award from the New York Film Festival, and that was, I mean, it's always nice to be recognized for what you do, but you know, I would do it anyways. It's an honor to be nominated, and it's an honor to win, and it's an honor to just do it, to get to make the stuff that I want to make is really wonderful.
Oh, I know you do many web series. You're in production for television, a few other things. Tell us about those.
Oh my gosh, what else can I tell you about? Well, other projects I have coming up that I'm very excited about are, I've just been cast in a new web series called Legendary, and this is from Jay Lee and his team up in Oregon. So I'm actually going to head up to the outskirts of Portland, Oregon in the fall, and I get to play the Elven High Priestess. So I seem to be working in Elflands a lot lately, and it's just a wonderful fantasy series. It's called Legendary Blood and Steel. And that is going into production in September. So I'll be up there a couple of weekends shooting that, and they're shooting on a gorgeous ranch. They have a wonderful area worked out for that, so I'm very excited. That's in front of the camera. Then another series that I've created with a bunch of other producers who work in the web space. Rob Paget, Tanya Elan, Steve, Jessica Mills. There's 6 of us, so I'm sure I forgot somebody. But Avi, I forgot you, Avi, oh my goodness. And this is the one about, it's called The Ladies and the Gents, and it's about events that take place in a bar/club restroom over the course of one night. So we have a lot of cute, funny, tongue-in-cheek vignettes, and we're bringing in a whole bunch of people from the web world to do it. And we're really proud too, because the ladies section is all written and produced and directed by women. So we like to sort of always have that feminist angle in there a little bit. And then the other project I'm working on is a Geek Girls talk show called SlumberCon, and that's a lot of fun. That's with my partner Jennifer Landa, and we have been kindly sponsored by Think Geek and We Love Fine. I'm wearing their t-shirt right now. I should show it for the camera. This is actually their Scarlet Witch t-shirt, which is my very, very favorite superheroine, although some people argue she's a villain. They're wrong. And I was voted Cosplayer of the Month, and they designed this t-shirt inspired by that. She's the character that I dress up for on occasion. I did her for a pin-up shoot in Cupcake Quarterly, which is a magazine that's coming out that puts the traditional sort of burlesque poses with a geek spin on them, so sort of updating that retro feel, all very tasteful, and they wanted me to bring out Scarlet Witch for her for the publication, and so I did, and so this is WeLoveFine.com or WeLoveFineTees.com, and they have excellent t-shirts. That's my plug. So.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
You know, I know just in a short time you're going up to the GeekGirlCon. how does it feel to be on a panel where they're looking to you for advice? They ask you questions, and because you're so involved in everything
Right.
that you do, and young ladies, I'm sure men as well, look to you. What advice do you give them? What are some of the common questions that you hear?
Well, first of all, I feel really honored to be on the panel, and it's also a lot of pressure too to have everyone looking to you, because I want to give the right answers and the inspiring answers and all that. But all you can really do is talk about your experience and be really truthful. And so the advice I've seemed to keep saying over and over again is to just go for it. And if you think you should do something or not, really, if you're going to create something, whether it's art, whether it's a movie, online, any kind of thing, you really have to speak about a story that you're passionate about. Go with your gut, tell a story that you are really emotionally tied to, because the web and all of us, we can smell inauthenticity, in the sense that if you don't believe it, if you don't want to make it, it doesn't necessarily ring true. And I think there are a lot of people with really passionate stories out there that should get told. So that's the advice that I tend to give everybody. On the Geek Girls Create panel, we talk about what it's like to make shows and how you can sort of navigate your way through it. And it's all about passion in the end, and creating a circle of talented friends around you, so you're not doing everything yourself. Although you do in the web. Like, I'm everything from craft service to producer to you do it all. But assembling a good group of people, and that's one of the reasons with 11 other girls, we created a group called the League of Extraordinary Ladies, and it's open to ladies and men. But we wanted, of course, to highlight the women, and just to create events, social, like craft bazaars and singles meetups and all that kind of stuff, where people can meet in real life, because we're getting a little bit more and more isolated with social media and our computers. So really to bring people together so they can form these teams to create these projects and feel like they're nurtured and supported. But find talented friends. That's the, just don't find untalented friends, find talented ones. And then the other panel that I'm on at GeekGirlCon is about the evolution of the geek girl in popular culture. And that is very interesting to sort of look at the progression of where that started. And I had the honor to be on the panel with one of the producers from Lost, a showrunner from Eureka, and another one, Sarah from Middleman and Parenthood, and we all just kind of talk about which characters we respond to and kind of how that's evolved over the years. For me, it was Dana Scully. That was the character that as a little girl I was like, wait, this is a strong woman who knows science. What?
X-Files.
Exactly. X-Files all the way for me.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you saw X-Files, and, right away a connection with her?
Absolutely. It inspired me. I was very young at the time when it started, and I loved the idea of like a strong FBI agent who was the skeptic, who was the scientist, who was involved in all the supernatural. So that X-Files was a big inspiration to me, as later on was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That showed me a whole team of really strong, diverse characters. In that I identified with Willow. Basically, anytime someone learns magic, I tend to gravitate towards that, or uses science to solve the supernatural. That's also my thing.
So, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I'm assuming the TV show, not just the movie.
Yes, the TV show, absolutely. Yeah, big fan of that, and was actually just rewatching it, and I love when shows hold up, and it does. So
now, how about today? Is there something that really stands out in your mind as a female character that you say, wow, that was someone I can admire when I was young,
actually,
or now?
I am a big fan of Fringe, and Olivia Dunham is, in my mind, the successor to Dana Scully in a lot of ways, and not just in the obvious trappings of FBI or whatever they call it on the show, but we have a complicated, vulnerable, multi-layered character. I'm very impressed with her as an actress, to be like real Olivia and faux Olivia and alternate universe Olivia. So I think Fringe is doing a really good job of doing sci-fi on television. Starbuck was big for me when Battlestar was on. That was really nice to see a tough chick, and Game of Thrones, actually, although most of the women are evil on the show. I read the books when I was a little girl, as they were first being published. I was a teenager at the time, and it's so interesting because I identified with Arya, because I was close to her age. Thankfully with Arya, not with Sansa. Phew. But identified with her, and then growing up, it's interesting to see how I shift blame to like who I feel is responsible for a lot of the things that as a teenager I kind of glossed over.
Right.
But you know, there's something delicious in watching Cersei do her stuff, and I want to make sure I don't give any spoilers since I've read it all. So.
Well, what did you think about that series, Alcatraz?
I liked it. I was a big Lost fan until the end. Sorry, JJ. Sorry, Javi. Although he wasn't on the show anymore. But really loved that show, and then it just went a little too wasting my time towards the end. And I get into big debates about that. But Alcatraz, I really enjoyed. Is that coming back next season?
I heard it was just this season.
And that was it.
That was it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it was fun. Like I like when people take an idea and turn it on its head, and that was a very interesting sort of like time shift sci-fi thing, and I think that can be done really well or not.
Not so well.
Yeah.
So right now, you're doing so many projects. If you had the sky's the limit, the limit, dream project, character, or from behind the camera, whatever it may be.
Well, I produce a lot of my own stuff, and I tend to gravitate towards fantasy and science fiction because that's what I love when I'm making my own stuff. But dream character would be something like Dana Scully, something like a little Olivia Dunham on Fringe. I would love to do, a period fantastical piece like Game of Thrones. The characters I gravitate towards are smart women. I tend to be cast as professors a lot of the time. Elves now seems to be the thing. I feel like I'm too tall to be an elf, but whatever. 5'7", but I'll take it. But really, ElfQuest, for example, was really inspirational to me because it showed me a group of a tribe of elves, a lot of whom were women, and they weren't really waiting around to have the men save them. And so that series really showed me that I could be a heroine in my own life and I could do what I wanted to do. So I really gravitate to roles that are, I don't want to say strong women because that's sort of a misnomer, but that have complex levels and layers of vulnerability. So Dana Scully, Olivia would be a great example.
Someone more confident, certain in themselves, and still trying to discover who they
trying
are.
To learn. The idea of trying to learn and expand your surroundings and figure out problems. And and the mysteries and stuff. That's always been really intriguing to me. I was a big Sherlock Holmes fan.
Do you like the new movies?
I do. I just finally watched the sequel, and I like very much what Robert Downey Jr. is doing. I also really like the BBC production. And
you watch the original ones with Bathsheba Rathbone?
Those as well, and with Cumberbatch, of course, the new. And so it's nice to see that character come back into vogue and see everything sort of come back around of what was once popular become popular again.
And there's going to be a new series, Elementary.
Yes, which I have read the pilot of. It's very good. And I look forward to that. Yeah, very much. So we've got some interesting TV coming up this season.
Yes,
so.
Very good. Let me ask you, you're big sci-fi.
Yeah.
Your father introduced you to Star Trek.
Yeah.
The original series, the second series?
He started with the original. When I was really young, and that was something that my mother, father, and I would watch together. I think Sunday nights at 7, something like that, right before I went to bed. And I remember being very anti-Next Generation when it came along because there was no Kirk, there was no Spock. Like, what is this? This is kind of a ripoff. So I was sort of anti that, and my mother refused to watch it. And my dad was like, no, just try it. And so he and I got hooked on it together. And then when I was older, a teenager, we started going to whatever convention would come to Vancouver at the time, which wasn't a lot. But I had the privilege of seeing Patrick Stewart speak when I was about, 13 maybe? And I knew his work from stage. I had a master's degree in Renaissance dramatic literature, so I knew his experience. And a fan asked him to recite some Shakespeare, and he did. He did Cassius from Julius Caesar, not Antony and Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, and that was that's just a moment that I always kind of remember is watching Patrick Stewart a la Captain Picard do some Shakespeare, and that was really wonderful. So I probably owe him a lot going down the actor sci-fi road.
Yeah. And of course, William Shatner's from Canada.
Of course, yes.
He was also a thespian.
Exactly, he's a thespian in his own right, and a fellow Canadian, which is great.
Is that why your father gravitated to the first one?
Maybe. He always just loved sci-fi stuff. Just really loved it. We have so many trade paperbacks in our house of like the old original first edition paperback of Dune that's falling apart. It's still there, and he got a little disappointed in me when I went more heavily down the fantasy dragon realm. I was reading Dragonlance and started into Dungeons and Dragons. He wanted to keep me more space and sci-fi, but I think there's room for both.
When he introduced you to Star Wars,
yes.
Did he take you to the theater? Was there a showing, or did he bring you at home and on television? This
is an anecdote my parents don't like me telling, but I will. He one afternoon was said to my mom, he's like, you know what, I'm going to take Steph out for a walk. We're gonna have some father and son day, and we're going to go in our little buggy, and we're going to go around the block for a walk. And she was like, this is great. What he did was take me to Empire Strikes Back, and which I was probably far too young for. But I have photos of this back in the time before we had digital cameras or anything like that. We had like the old wind-up camera, and he actually took a couple of pictures of the screen, and I still have those prints. And I hardly remember the movie, but I remember him being so proud of that and telling the story and us having that communal sort of share factor.
So what did he think of the last trilogy? Was he disappointed like most? Yeah,
he recognizes that they're really geared towards kids, and I have friends with kids now who the kids love the prequels, love the trilogy. There's so much action, there's so much the toys, all the merchandising, all that stuff. They're movies that are really geared towards children. Much like 4, 5, and 6 were kind of geared towards us as children, and so I think the trick is to find the stuff we can appreciate in all of them, but I'm a classicist. 4, 5, and 6 is where it's at for me. I was talking to someone recently who said there's an interesting way to watch the 6 series, and I don't know if I can get this right or not, but to watch it as though it's completely Vader's story. So you start with, you leave one out altogether. One's gone. You just cut that out, and you do 4, 5, and then you flash back and do 2, 3, and finish with 6, I think is the order. So it tells his story as a flashback in the middle of the 3, and that's supposed to be much more palatable. So
have you tried it?
I have not tried it yet, but the next time I watch them, I'm going to try that. But apparently, there's no saving one. According to this, I read it on a website. I'm sure if you Google it, you can find the right order in case I gave you mistaken information.
There's no saving one. Yeah. I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
I know you're going to have to be going soon. Right now you're doing so much. Any chance for a break? And if you had a break, what would you do?
I would go to France.
The Champs-Élysées.
I would go to France. If I had any time for a break, I would travel. I've been really itching to get away. I got to France in 2009 for not long enough, and it was really wonderful. I speak fluent French. So growing up in Canada, they make you learn. So I'd love to be able to get there for a few weeks. I'd like to get to Italy, and really, if I could, do a little tour viewer, that would be an absolute dream come true. I have friends in Japan with babies I haven't met yet. I would love to get to see them, and all that stuff. But it would definitely be Europe and Paris and France in particular if I got a break. I'm also not opposed to lying in a beach in Hawaii. But I don't see that anytime soon. I'm kind of eyeing Christmas time, but projects, funding falls through, things explode. It's really hard to sort of plan. I'm very lucky to get up to this wedding and get to see my family, who I'd love to see more often. My grandparents are both, my grandfather is 92 and my grandmother is 88, so it'll be really wonderful to see them as well. So that's kind of a break, but that's not a holiday.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, please, would you tell us all your contact information, where they can get hold of Outquest, you, and everything?
Great. Okay, I'll try and go through all my URLs.
Okay.
But first, me. I'm Stephanie Thorpe, and the best way to find out the most about me is on my website, which is I'll say that again because it's loud. TheStephanieThorpe.com. creativepowerhouse.com. That's my website. You can find out about all my projects and a little bit more about me there. On Twitter, I'm at the Steph Thorpe. On Twitter, those are the best ways to reach me. You can get in touch on Facebook as well. I have a fan page there that I post on regularly. And as for shows, ElfQuest, you can find at elfquestfantrailer.com. Shelf Life, the raunchy Toy Story action figure, you can find at shelflifeseries.com. Let's see what else. Legendary, bloodandsteel.com, I think. You might want to check that on my website. What else do I have to talk about? Those are, oh, and Weird Girls, that's another good one. Weird-girls.com, and that's a really cool project. It's about a group of middle school girls who are dealing with popularity and puberty and friendship issues, and they have to fight demons on the side. And that I came on board to produce because it reminded me a lot in writing and style of Buffy, and I'd like to make something that can inspire a new generation.
And of course, GeekGirlCon.
Oh yes, GeekGirlCon happening up in Seattle on August 11th and 12th. And I believe that is geekgirlcon.com. It could be .org, but anyways, someone will correct me.
Yes. Oh, Stephanie, thanks for taking the time.
Oh, you're so welcome. This was absolutely delightful.
Oh, wonderful. I do have one question. I'm a big Trekkie myself.
Okay.
So here's my big question.
Okay.
Kirk or Picard?
Okay, well, see, it gets really complicated for me. Are we talking classic William Shatner Kirk or Chris Pine reboot Kirk?
I'm
versus
sorry,
Picard?
Chris Pine has to be put to the side.
Okay, so we're putting
Kirk.
I have a thing for you, Chris. We'll put Chris to the side. Okay, between Shatner and Picard,
yes.
I'm going to have to go with Picard. For me, yeah, he was a part of my development. Like I said, I got to see him in person, quote Shakespeare, and I thought he was a really good captain. It depends if you want like the rough and tumble, you know, love him and leave him kind, which was William Shatner, which we also got in William Riker, who if you made me choose between Picard and Riker, that would be a harder choice. But yeah, I was very influenced by Next Generation, so Picard is sort of my pinnacle.
So which one do you think your dad would pick there?
I think my dad would prefer to see me with Picard. He was, you know, noble and good morals and always tried to do the right thing. Exactly. Yeah, I think he would prefer that. So Dad would approve of me marrying a Starfleet captain.
There you go.
So that's great.
That's great. And we'll fade that off camera.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Stephanie, again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.